Most people cannot stop talking. They announce their plans before they execute them. They share their progress before it exists. They perform ambition instead of practicing it. Watch any room, any feed, any conversation, and you will notice the same pattern. The loudest voices belong to the least focused minds. Noise has become a substitute for substance. Talking has replaced doing. Attention-seeking has replaced actual building. And somewhere inside that noise, a man loses himself. He loses his edge. He loses the thread of his own purpose. Silence makes most people uncomfortable because silence forces them to confront what they are actually producing. And often, the answer is nothing. But there is a different kind of man. He does not announce. He does not perform. He disappears into his work and emerges with results. That man understands something fundamental. Silence is not absence. Silence is power in its purest, most concentrated form. Consider two men. The first man talks about his goals constantly. He tells his friends, posts updates, seeks feedback before he has even begun. Every conversation is a performance. Every morning is a new announcement. He feels productive because he is active, but his activity is social, not operational. He is spending his energy in the direction of appearance. The second man says very little. He works early, before the world wakes up. He does not seek opinions. He does not explain his process. He does not need anyone to validate what he is building, because his identity is not built on validation, it is built on execution. Now ask yourself honestly, which man are you closer to right now? Not which man you want to be, which man you currently are. This question is not meant to shame you. It is meant to locate you. Because if you are honest with yourself, you will admit that a significant portion of your mental energy goes toward how you appear to others, not toward the actual work that would make you undeniable. Talking depletes focus. Seeking validation fractures attention. And without full attention, you cannot build anything real. Stoicism is not a philosophy of suffering or cold detachment. It is a philosophy of control, specifically, control over the things that are within your power. Your attention is within your power. Your reaction to distraction is within your power. Your daily discipline is within your power. The Stoics understood long before modern psychology that the mind left unguarded will drift toward comfort, noise, and shallow stimulation. They did not consider this a moral failure. They considered it a management problem. The solution was not motivation. The solution was a system of internal governance. You govern your attention the way a general governs territory, with clear boundaries, consistent enforcement, and zero tolerance for unnecessary concessions. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you are not just completing a task. You are reinforcing an identity. You are telling your nervous system, your subconscious, and your character what you stand for. The Stoic does not ask the world to be quieter. He becomes quieter within himself. He builds a wall around his concentration and guards it with the seriousness of a man who understands that attention is the only real currency he possesses. Marcus Aurelius was emperor of Rome. He held more power than almost any man in history. And yet his private journals, the meditations, are filled with reminders to himself to focus, to stop seeking approval, to return to his work without drama. He wrote those words for no audience. He wrote them to govern himself. That is what discipline looks like at its highest level. A man in full power still choosing internal order over external performance. Epictetus was a slave. He had no political power, no wealth, no status. And yet he developed a philosophy of absolute internal freedom. The idea that no external force can own your mind if you refuse to give it away. He understood that the man who controls his attention controls his life. Seneca wrote letters that cut through the noise of Roman society with surgical clarity. He warned against wasting time, against mistaking busyness for purpose, against living for the opinions of others. These three men existed in different circumstances, different centuries, different social positions. But they arrived at the same conclusion. Your inner discipline is your highest asset, and silence, both external and internal, is where that discipline lives. The modern world has engineered your distraction on purpose. Social media platforms are built by teams of behavioral scientists, whose singular objective is to fragment your attention into the smallest possible pieces and sell those pieces to advertisers. Every notification, every scroll, every like is a small dopamine release, enough to feel rewarding, not enough to satisfy. So you keep going back, and with each return, your capacity for sustained focus erodes slightly. This is not a metaphor. Neurological research confirms that the average attention span has shortened measurably over the past 2 decades. Your brain is being trained to expect constant novelty, constant stimulation, constant social feedback. And a brain conditioned this way cannot do deep work. It cannot sit for 2 hours and solve a complex problem. It cannot build anything that requires sustained, undistracted concentration. Here is the line you need to carry with you. The man who cannot control his attention cannot control his life. Distraction is not a minor inconvenience. It is the systematic dismantling of your ability to become who you are capable of being. Every time you choose the feed over the work, you are not relaxing, you are surrendering. Pause, right now. Not metaphorically, actually pause. Put down whatever else is competing for your attention and stay with this for a moment. Where are you currently leaking energy? Be honest. Is it in conversations that go nowhere, repeating the same complaints, the same plans, the same frustrations to the same people? Is it in social media, watching other people build while your own work sits untouched? Is it in the need for someone to tell you that what you are doing matters before you believe it yourself? These are not small questions. These are the exact points where your focus breaks down. These are the fractures in your discipline. Every man has them. The question is not whether they exist. The question is whether you are willing to close them. You do not need more motivation. You do not need a better plan. You need to stop bleeding your attention in directions that produce nothing. Here is how you build a life around silence and focus, not as a temporary experiment, but as a permanent operating mode. You begin your work before your phone touches your hand. Not after checking messages, not after scrolling for 5 minutes, before. The first hour of your day belongs entirely to your most important work, and it is protected with the same seriousness you would bring to a legal contract. Your work sessions have no notifications, no background conversations, no half attention. You are either fully in or fully out. There is no in-between. You stop announcing your goals to people who have no role in building them. Not because secrecy is magical, but because announcement diffuses the internal tension that drives execution. When you tell someone your plan, your brain registers partial completion. That subtle psychological release costs you momentum. You stop seeking feedback on work that is not finished. You stop performing productivity. You sit, you focus, you produce. This is not a morning routine. This is not a list of habits. This is a philosophy of how a focused man moves through his days, quietly, consistently, and without the need for anyone to witness the process. There was a man who spent 3 years almost entirely invisible online. He had built something, a skill, a business, a body of work, but almost no one knew it was happening. His former colleagues were more visible than him. They were posting more, speaking more, networking more. He was working, quietly, daily, without announcement. At the end of those 3 years, when his work became undeniable, when the results were simply too large to ignore, people called it overnight success. They asked him what his secret was. He did not have a dramatic answer. He said, I stopped spending energy on being seen and put all of it into building something worth seeing. That is the entire system. Not a shortcut, not a strategy, just a reallocation of attention away from performance and toward production. The results took care of the reputation. The work did the speaking. You are not trying to become focused. You are focused. That shift in language matters more than you realize. Identity is not a destination. It is a decision that gets reinforced daily through action. Every morning you choose work over noise. You become more of the man you are building. Every time you resist the impulse to seek validation, your internal authority grows. This is not a temporary phase of self-improvement. This is the permanent installation of a new operating system. Quiet, consistent, controlled. The transformation is not coming. It is already underway in every small, silent, undocumented choice you make toward the work. Stay quiet. Stay focused. Let your work speak. These are not motivational phrases. They are a complete philosophy of how a serious man lives. You do not need to be the loudest voice in any room. You do not need to be seen while you are building. You need to build something so real, so consistent, so undeniable that the results speak louder than any words ever could. If this touched something in you, something quiet and serious, leave a comment below. One word is enough. And if you want more of this, subscribe to the channel. No noise, just work. That is the standard. Now go meet it.